And then we get to the best week of the season. Episode 8 brings us the conference title games. 4 games on tap, so we will get to go a little bit more in depth. And I promise you, these games did not disappoint. We had some outcomes that we didn't expect. College football playoff spots are on the line, and we're going to start with the game that's going to determine at least one of those. Toledo, Ohio scoring off. Winner goes to the college football playoff, and it was Toledo getting on the board first. Listen, Ohio won that week 2 game earlier in this season, even though there were 12 combined picks in this game, and Ohio still did not get the memo that you're not supposed to throw the ball to the other team. Rockets return it all the way inside the 10, and 2 plays later, they're going to find the end zone to go up by 2 scores early in this one. This one out quickly to Carl Gastineau, and they get the ball right back, force a punt, and it's Maddox Madsen on the roll, finding a wide open Jonathan Paylor, your Heisman Trophy winner, and he's got speed. We know that for certain. 21-0. I don't know if anybody saw this coming. We just get to the second quarter as Ohio finally gets into enemy territory. They find the end zone there. They get the ball back after forcing a punt, drive down the field, and they've got goal-to-go position. First and goal. What does Tim Carpenter have for us? He throws to the flat. That ball gets picked off. And unfortunately, when you throw the ball to the flat and it gets picked off, you are susceptible to a pick 6. That's exactly what happens here. 14-point swing. We go from a potential 7-point deficit to a 21-point deficit. The offense did not quit, though. They take the next drive back down the field, hit the running back for the touchdown, cut this thing to 14 yet again. But Madsen was a madman today. He played some inspired football, rolling out to his left on the run, finds his receiver right there. But the Bobcats would not kick the bucket. Carpenter out to his running back in the flat, makes this a 14-point game. But when I said Maddox Madsen was playing like a madman, I meant it. And when you give him this much time, he is going to find the open receiver, and he did it again. And of course, it's Jonathan Paylor finding the end zone for a second time today to go up 21 yet again. Carpenter trying to play hero, finds his receiver underneath. That's Davis making the catch. We're back to 14, but the defense just could not get stops today. And when you see this play, it kind of felt like the football gods were on the side of the Rockets. Madsen falling away across his body, finds his receiver in the end zone. Defense gets another interception, and Madsen doing the same thing again. Toledo stops Ohio from winning back-to-back MAC titles, and they themselves punch their ticket to the college football playoff. San Diego State trying to get some recognition before the end of the season. They are 10-2, yet are unranked and are barely receiving any votes. They're taking on a very good New Mexico team. I want that to be well known. This is a good New Mexico team, but the defense gives up a long touchdown there, tying this game up at 7. But Malachi Nelson has been one of the biggest stories of this college football season. I believe, what is this, 2026? He has been phenomenal for the Aztecs, and he's showing why right there. Finally looks like the 5-star prospect he was touted as out of high school. And then it was the defense stepping up and making a play. That is a strip sack recovered by Trey White. And you know the slug is jumping up and down on the sideline. Defense allows a field goal next time down, but the offense comes right back down, marching down the field, and it's Tyson Chavez. We are now up 18. Another New Mexico field goal, and the offense has got the ball again, and they're looking to score right before the break, and they would. 35-13 is your score at halftime. This is just lethal from the Aztecs team. Okay, we got an interception. Hold on a second. This one may not be over. We go from a 22-point game to a 14-point game just like that. Then San Diego State punted on the following possession, meaning New Mexico had a shot to take this to a 1-score game, and that's exactly what they did. Caught the Aztecs in a man blitz, got it out quickly, took advantage. But the Aztec offense, Malachi Nelson, Tyson Chavez, this connection was special all year long, and we saw it show up time and time again. Nelson says, "Finish him." Aztecs win the Mountain West 56-35. What a performance from them. App State looking to go back-to-back in the Sun Belt, taking on another CPU. And a 4th and 1, they get the luck of the Irish punching their way into the end zone there. Georgia Southern definitely helped get them to that point. And then on their next possession, they throw out a wide receiver screen, but a pancake block, and then he snips the other guy. That wide receiver deserves some sort of medal for springing that one for the score. But the Mountaineers, I mean, we're talking about a minute later, right back down the field, finding the end zone, beating the blitz. That is how it's done. 3rd and 18 for the Eagles as they're looking to keep pace with the Mountaineers in this one. They're just going to chuck up a prayer quarter of the end zone. That one is caught. That is a Georgia Southern touchdown. Ensuing kickoff, though. Oh, he's going to break free. Can they catch him? That is a great block by the return team, and they will not catch him. That is an App State touchdown. Dancing into the end zone, but the defense right before the half got marched down the field. Walk them down, they say. Georgia Southern finds the end zone, tie this thing up at halftime. App State starting to sweat a little bit. Haven't lost a game to a computer opponent since that week 1 loss last season, and it doesn't look like they're going to do so there. That touchdown was all grit all the way. And then Chambers rolling out of the pocket. He's going to find the guy in the flat. That's a catch, and he's got plenty of room for the score. That is back-to-back for the App State Mountaineers, Sunbelt champs yet again. Middle Tennessee State and Jacksonville State, part 4, and this one was Jacksonville State early on their first drive of the game. In less than a minute, they score. Yeah, they were feeling it on all cylinders. Middle Tennessee State now with the ball, and Julian Duggar's going to try and test the safety. That ball gets picked off. Jacksonville State would get a field goal. Blue Raiders come back down the field, though, and now they're in the red zone looking to find the end zone, trying to find his tight end, but that one gets picked off. That is now 2 Julian Duggar interceptions already in this one. The very next play after the interception, that is Jordan Savage, your freshman All-American, and he is goodbye, baby. Gone. Nobody is catching him. He's got speed for days. What does that mean? 17-0 ball game now. Middle Tennessee driving yet again, but another Julian Duggar interception. At this point, you might have to think about benching the kid. I mean, he has been great all year long. But what is going on right now? It is a 20-0 ball game. Just put the ball on the ground. Jeremiah Cobb finds a lot of room, and he's going to find the end zone. Finally stops the bleeding, because good Lord, this was bad. 20-7 now, and just before the half, trying to get something, anything, and it's picked off again. 4 first-half interceptions for Duggar. Just super uncharacteristic of him, looking like that first game of this season. But he would come back on the first possession of the second half and find Talon Shetron in the end zone to make this a 1-score ball game. Don't ask me how. The defense is playing out of their mind, or at least they were before this play right here. That was a beautiful, beautiful throw and catch on 3rd and goal. And then on the ensuing Middle Tennessee possession, it is picked off for a 5th time. This is unbelievable. I mean, you cannot make this up. And this time, the Gamecocks are going to capitalize with a touchdown, showing off that strength. They hit the weight room in the offseason, and they now go up 20 for the second time today. 4th and 8 now for Middle Tennessee. We are in the 4th quarter. It is do or die time. You cannot give up any more possessions. And Julian Duggar throws a seed down the seam to Cameron Lacey, and he is going to find the end zone. They needed 8. He picked up plenty more than that. And now it is a onside kick. This seems a little early, and it's recovered by Jacksonville State. If they score a touchdown here, this one is practically over. And Jaden Davis is going to miss his receiver, so they have to settle for a field goal. Can Middle Tennessee State get a block on it? They cannot. So Jacksonville State will go up 37-21, 16-point ball game. I mean, you need to score really quickly if you're Middle Tennessee here, and that's exactly what's going to happen. Jalen Mbakwe does it again. He has been lethal on the kick return all year long, and he showed up when they needed it the most. They go for 2 points. They don't get it, so they need the onside kick here. And Jacksonville State, what are they doing? The Blue Raiders get it, and they go down the field right before the 2-minute warning. Julian Duggar, he's going to break a tackle. He's going to find the end zone. Are you kidding me right now? It is now a 3-point ball game. 3rd and 10. 2-minute warning is passed. Jaden Davis gets hit. That ball is incomplete. They got to punt it back to Middle Tennessee. 4th and 1. Minute 15 left. If they get to stop, this game is over. But Tyquan Yates puts his head down and gets the first down. Now, the very next play, 37-34 is your score. I mean, this game is ridiculous. He's going to try to test the scene with Tavion Galloway, and that is a flag. What are they going to call here? defensive pass interference. That is a huge play. 2 plays later now, 2nd and 10. We're at a minute now. Julian Duggar trying to make anything happen. He's going to find Cameron Lacey. He's been a hero in the 4th quarter. They get down to the 5-yard line. 2 plays later, now 40 seconds left, 2nd and goal. They're going to line up in the I formation, toss it out to Tyquan Yates. He's got a foot race to the corner, and he gets it. And for the first time today, Middle Tennessee State leads. They were down by 20 points at 2 different points in this ball game. But Jacksonville State is trying to do what they did in their first meeting in Season 1, and that's march down the field and get a last-second touchdown for the victory. And it looks like they're going to do just that. Breaks the tackle. They get down to the 27-yard line. Maybe it was a little early for prevent defense. I don't know, but they got down the field very quickly. Jay Davis going to find his running back again, but this time it's broken up. So it all comes down to this. We're talking about Conference USA Championship on the line, potential playoff spot on the line. It all comes down to this. Jaden Davis drops back to pass, throws it to the corner of the end zone. And that ball is broken up. Middle Tennessee State goes back-to-back in Conference USA. What a game. What a finish. These two teams deliver yet again. Shout out the conference champions this season. We had 2 back-to-back consecutive champions in Middle Tennessee and App State. Wasn't easy for either one of them, but they did it. 2 new champions. Toledo dethrones Ohio, punches their ticket to the college football playoff. And then San Diego State was not tested at all in Mountain West play this year. They dominated from start to finish. They go undefeated in the conference. They get to 11 wins, and they are setting themselves up great for the future. As we take a look at the schedules and kind of recap each team, App State started the year out strong with a big win over Tennessee, beat San Diego State, beat UL Monroe, started out 3-0, then lost one to Ohio. That is now 2 in a row that they have lost to Coach Sean Combs. But they bounced back in a big way, winning their next 1,800 games. As you can see here, just not really tested at all. The first half of the Old Dominion game was tough, but other than that, just nothing really tested them before the Marshall game. And once you got to the Marshall game, they ended up coming away with a victory, and then they beat the brakes off Coastal Carolina, and then they win their second conference championship in the Sun Belt. For Bowling Green, it was a rough season, 4-8. They went 4-4 in conference. Listen, it was rough overall, but in terms of where they were at last year, it was definitely an improvement. Played Coastal Carolina very tough in week 1, played Missouri State tough in week 2. Didn't play Utah State as tough as they would like in week 3, but you started the year out 0-3, but these 3 teams ended up being pretty solid. You played well, improved on last year, and I think that was the big thing that Coach P. Rizzi was looking for. But then you beat NIU in week 4. You lose to Western Michigan 41-0. Not great, but you come back and beat Eastern, lose to Toledo, lose to Central, beat Buffalo, though, big time. And then you take the bye week and come out and get swamped by Oklahoma. Listen, we kind of expected that to happen. Oklahoma did finish the year ranked. Listen, it's going to happen. There's not much you can do about it. The last game against UMass, obviously you can see, was a forced win. We'll get into Coach Kosminski in a second, but there's some not very good things on that front and why he was absent for the last couple of games of the year. For Akron, that was a tough way to end the season. As you can see, the offense was the big problem, right? A lot of these games, they just didn't score enough points. 0, 7, 3, 3, 3. Like, they just didn't play super well offensively. Defensively, they were in it a lot, but the offense, through Drew Pine specifically, threw so many interceptions that it put the defense behind the 8 ball. A lot of those touchdowns were pick sixes as well. You couldn't really ask much more of the defense given the situation that they were in. Obviously, you look at the games like NIU and Eastern Michigan that they were able to win. Defense locks down. As long as the offense takes care of the ball, this defense is in a really good spot to compete. And you just hope that they're able to springboard into next season kind of feeling that same type of way. For Buffalo, it started out fantastic with a win, right? You beat Missouri State 31-26. That game was a thriller. Go back and watch it if you didn't. And then you lose your next 3 games, and they're not particularly close, especially this game against the FCS opponent. You kind of needed to win that one if you wanted to get to a bowl game, even like sniff it. They didn't, unfortunately, which, as you can see, resulted in a loss. UMass game was never close, right? UMass, just very well coached team by Coach Koss. Just a tough result. Ball State game was simmed. Coach Janus was on medical leave for this game. He had kidney stones, from what I've heard. So it got simmed, and Ball State did not show up at all, and Buffalo was able to come away with a victory there. But then they lose their next 4 games, 65-24 to San Diego State, 35-15 to Akron, 98-7 to Ohio. Just no sportsmanship in that one. Bowling Green game, they lose. That's probably one that you needed to pick up. But then they finished the year 2-1, and they played really well in all 3 of these games. When you end the year against Kent State like you did, I mean, you have to be feeling really good about yourself. Just a fantastic way to end the year for Coach Janus and the Bulls. For Coastal Carolina, you start the year out 1-2. Listen, they tried to schedule big-time opponents in their out-of-conference, and I respect them for that. Just play a little bit better next time, right? Have a little bit of a better showing, because this was embarrassing. These 2 games against BYU and Ole Miss, it was from the jump. Like, they were kind of sort of in these games early, but then the defense just didn't show up, and we saw that a lot this year. The defense was a major culprit. One of the worst units in the country that we've seen. And once we go to the stats and actually look at everything, you will see exactly what I'm talking about. But then they beat South Alabama in their first conference game, beat their FCS team, and then this was kind of where it all went downhill in terms of competing for the Sun Belt. Losing this game to Troy when they were up, I forget what the actual point differential was in the fourth quarter. They lost like an 18-point lead or something. Troy just destroys them, dismantles them in the fourth quarter. A complete meltdown by Coach Goon and his offense. So they lose that game. Come back and beat Marshall, but then you get embarrassed by Georgia Southern. It's like, what is this team really? Right? You beat a 1-win Marshall team. Congratulations. You want a sticker or something? But then they come back. They beat Coach Inglewood-Kringleberry in Louisiana in Week 9 with a big win. I mean, that game was close all the way, but the ability to win a close game is something that they had at the beginning of the Dynasty that have lost recently, but they were able to get out on top in that one and come away victorious. And then the James Madison game, that was a huge win for them. Like, if they don't lose this Troy game, they are in the Sun Belt title race competition. Like, they're in the conversation for that spot, but you lose that one and it all goes downhill, right? You just unable to do anything about it. You beat Texas State, which is great, but App State gets your number, has your number. Coach Mike Roth owns Coach Goon. We know this. This is not new information. Game was close. It was 14-14. You had plenty of opportunities to really put it away. You just couldn't, unfortunately. And it's another season of 500 football, roughly. Maybe they'll compete next year in the Sun Belt. That's the hope, I think. For Delaware, they finished the year 9-4 after the bowl game, which you guys will see. Actually, you will have already seen them, I think. Or maybe it'll be coming up. I don't know when I'm doing that, to be quite honest with you. 42-14 loss to UMass in the opener. Not great showing. But listen, again, we talked about it. UMass is a well-coached team, right? There's just not much you can do about it. The Tennessee loss was tough. Like, this is a game they probably should have won. Tennessee was coming off of that Week 1 loss to App State at home still. And unfortunately for them, they fall in this one. Could have had a double-digit win season if they were able to pull this one out. Beat Texas State pretty easily. Beat Louisiana Tech pretty easily. Get the bye week. Then you go to Oregon State, or you play Oregon State in Delaware. Such a weird game, but I love it. And you win. You win a close game. And then we kind of saw a stretch of close games where it was like, okay, is Delaware a good team that just can't put bad teams away? Or do they play down the competition? Like, what is this team? They were able to win those 3 games, but this stretch of games right here, they just cannot get to the top of Conference USA right now. You lose 38-13 to Middle Tennessee. You beat UTEP 36-34, very close game, but again, cardiac blue hens. It doesn't rhyme or it doesn't flow very well. I'm sorry. It was the best I could come up with. And then you lose to Jacksonville State 70-28. Coach Shiesty has had his problems with Coach Brown in the past. Just cannot get over the hump. It felt like maybe this year there was a chance, and if he was able to do so with, and we'll talk about it in a second, Jacksonville State dropping 2 early Conference USA games, they could be playing in the Conference USA championship game. But unfortunately, they weren't able to get it done. They lose that one. But they do finish the year on a 2-game win streak, beating Sam Houston and beating Missouri State. So overall, it's a mixed bag, right? There are games that you wish you had back. There are games that you probably wish weren't as close as they were. But it's a 9-win season. You're not going to, you're not going to really get mad at that. This program's on the up and up. Listen, they're brand new to the FBS. It was going to take some time. It was never going to be easy, but you got a good coach in the building, and I think that's what's really important. Yeah, okay, so now we got to talk about the worst team I've ever seen with my own two eyes. 75 overall, loses 40-0, 45-14, 63-35, 20-14, 45-17. Wins a game 17-14 against a bad UNLV team. Maybe not bad, but an average UNLV team in the Mountain West. Lose 62-38, lose 61-21, lose 59-14, lose 41-21, get fired, and then you lose the last two games after that. So, listen, this is an embarrassing performance from Fresno State. There's a reason that Coach Sonnenberger Jr. was fired after this New Mexico game because the team just was not competitive. The defense sucked. The offense sucked. There was nothing good about it, and they needed to cut their losses after a disappointing season in year one. Coming out and doing all of this was just unacceptable. Like, you have to win some of these games in order to keep your job. Like, you can't lose to food. That's the big one. You can't lose to food. When this happened, we should have all known what was coming. So not much else to say. We will see where Sonnenberger Jr. ends up. Jacksonville State, I mean, listen, this is a phenomenal program. Coach Lou Brown knows exactly what he's doing with his guys. They do play a lot of close games. Listen, they win a lot of them. It got them in trouble this year, and it almost cost them a spot in the conference championship game, but they started the year out really strong. You beat San Jose State by a big margin, 49-7. The San Jose State team that played in the Mountain West title game last year, not as good as we anticipated them to be this season, but this was a statement win in what we thought was a really big game in week one. Week two, you go to Tempe. You beat Arizona State 50-47 in a game that came down to the last field goal. That was such a fun game to watch. And Arizona State finishes 11-3 on the season, wins the Big 12 undefeated. Like, that is a massive win for the Gamecocks. Then they beat Miami. This is what I'm talking about. Losing to New Mexico State early. Like, this is not a good New Mexico State team either. This was a tough loss, and it was like, okay, you get one of those, and then once you get to two conference losses, you start to get into a hairy situation, which you may not be able to make the conference title game. Fortunately for them, they had Western Kentucky, Middle Tennessee, and Delaware on the schedule, so they were able to pretty much control their own destiny. They beat Western Kentucky by 10. They lose next week to Louisiana Tech, and at this point, it's like, okay, they have two conference losses. You absolutely cannot afford a third. If you get to 3, you're not going to have a shot at the conference title game. There's just no way. And this was a tough game. Louisiana Tech, again, kind of like New Mexico State, not a very good team. It was a very surprising result. But they bounced back in a big way, beating Middle Tennessee 49-48. Game came down to the last second. I mean, 2-point conversion was not converted on Middle Tennessee State's part, and then Jacksonville State throws an interception, but then they get an interception on the final drive of the game when Middle Tennessee was trying to go down for a field goal. Like, this game was unbelievable. Just a big win, and moved Coach Brown to 2-1 against Coach Hudson. And then they come back, beat Sam Houston handily, beat Liberty handily, then beat Kennesaw State by a touchdown. That game was close as well, but they came away with the victory in that one, and then they just absolutely dominated Delaware from start to finish, like we already talked about. Then they played Hawaii after the bye week, won 49-47 in another close game, and then you get to the conference championship game. They were up by 20 points at one point, 21 points. I forget what the actual score was, and then the second half collapse, allowed 27 points in the fourth quarter, and lose your second consecutive conference championship game. And this is just it was a tough way to end the season, because you really thought that this team, the way that they had played against Middle Tennessee the past 2 regular season games, that this was the opportunity for them to win the conference, and they looked to be in prime position to do so. And then the second half happened, and it was like, damn, that one really got away from us. Probably going to be kicking ourselves for a little bit after that one. But overall, it was a good season. Like, you get to 11 wins, you're playing in your conference championship game, you're going to be happy with that result. The Raging Cajuns, kind of an up and down year for them. You start 1-3. Big win over a Utah State team that ended up going to a bowl game. But you lose to San Jose State in a game you probably should have won. You lose to Louisiana Tech in a game you probably should have won. You lose to Texas State in a game you probably should have won. And this is a bad Texas State team too. And it was also Sun Belt play. You don't lose this game, you're probably playing in the Sun Belt title game. Unfortunately, you did, right? The good thing about what Louisiana did after this game was that they finished the season 6-3. That was the most important thing they could have done. Arkansas State, big win over the Red Wolves. At that point, Arkansas State was playing like one of the better teams in the Sun Belt. You take the bye, you come back, you wallop James Madison, you get a big win over Southern Miss in a game that you usually lose. Like, you usually use a game like that. You come back, you win it. You lose a heartbreaker to Coastal Carolina in a game that you were in the entire way. Losing to SMU was honestly fine because of how well that you played in that game with a chance to win it. This is a solid SMU team too in the ACC. They finished 8-5, 5-3 in conference. You come back, you beat ULM, you beat them by 2 touchdowns. You beat South Alabama by 2 scores. Then you lose the ODU game. In the end, that game didn't really matter for anything because Georgia Southern ended up taking the spot in the conference title game. But the way that you guys played was so good, and I was super impressed with the way that you guys were able to play to finish out the season, and hopefully that can springboard you into next year. For Middle Tennessee, it started out on fire. You pull off one of the biggest wins of the season at Michigan on the last play of the game. Talon Shetron goes down in Blue Raider history with that play. You win 32-29 in the Big House. Come back, get vengeance on Marshall from last season. Again, not a great Marshall team, but you needed to exercise some demons. This did it right there. You beat a Maryland team at home 49-24. They didn't end up finishing the season very well, but that was a good offense. Defensively, not so much. You take the bye week, you come back, you beat Nevada for a second year in a row. You beat Sam Houston 52-17. But then, you lose to Jacksonville State in the regular season on some just late game. It feels like almost panic, right? You just didn't make the plays when you needed to the most, and that's what cost you another loss. If Middle Tennessee had beaten Jacksonville State in this game, we didn't know it at the time. If they had won that game, Jacksonville State doesn't have a shot at Conference USA Championship game. They would be 3 conference losses, they would be out. But unfortunately for Middle Tennessee, at the time, that win kept Jacksonville State alive, and then you'd have to play them again in the conference title game. And it was like, with the way that the 2 regular season games had gone, and the conference championship game last year, they're playing with their backup quarterback. A lot of their offensive linemen aren't healthy. You kind of took advantage of that. But when they were fully healthy, you didn't blow them out, right? It was close. They were close competitive battles. So it was like putting yourself in that position again because you weren't able to capitalize this time. Beat the piss out of Kennesaw State. Just not a good Owls team. Like we talked about this already. Beat Delaware 38-13 in a game just really dominated from start to finish. Defense played phenomenally this game. Then New Mexico State. That's a tough game. And then New Mexico State, you beat 42-7. That was a big win. And then 59-28 over Western Kentucky. You beat your rival yet again. You don't have many rivals at Middle Tennessee, so you need to beat them. The one that you have, which is Western Kentucky, and they did. You beat FIU, you beat UTEP big, hold them to 13 points. And then you finally win the close one against Jacksonville State, and you showed a lot of resiliency doing that. Julian Duggar throws 5 interceptions in this game. 3 or 4 of them, I think 4 of them came in the first half, but he played really well in that fourth quarter. Defense stepped up and made some huge stops. Got a little bit of luck to go your way. Obviously, you need the bounce of the ball to bounce in your favor, and it did this game. You capitalized, and you were able to win and make the touchdown saving drive, or the stopping drive, that last drive of the game that you weren't able to last year in the regular season. So you kind of got that the proverbial monkey off your back. So it was really nice to see for Middle Tennessee State. Doc Hudson now 25-3, I believe, is his record. in his career. So he just stays winning games. For Missouri State, they finished 5-7, 3-5 in conference. You start the season with a rough loss to Buffalo, but you bounce back with a big win over Bowling Green. Go on a bye week, come out, and you're 2-1 after a win against Fresno State. You go into Missouri and almost pull off the upset victory. The battle for Missouri supremacy just came down to I believe this was an overtime game that you guys, they just fell short. It was a phenomenal performance, and it really felt like things were going in the right direction after this game. Because then you come back and you beat New Mexico State 30-27. It's like, okay, we're 3-2. Can we actually get to a bowl game and compete in Conference USA? You lose your next 2 Conference USA games, puts you in a rough spot. At this point, you're 1-2 in conference, and you just lost to one of the better teams in conference, 77-28 in terms of Western Kentucky. You come back, you beat UTEP, but then you finish the year 1-3 against, the lower end of the conference. You do beat Liberty pretty handily, 24-3, which is a phenomenal result. But you can't get the monkey off your back in terms of beating a user in conference, and that's where the tough, look in the mirror has to come this offseason. It's what do they have to do to get better to compete in Conference USA for a spot in the conference title game. That we'll see what happens next year, but I like the steps that this program is taking, and I feel like year 3 under Coach Wagner is going to be much better than years 1 and 2, and I think we will be in a bowl game. We will be competing in Conference USA. For the Wolfpack, they finished the year ranked, and it all comes back to a game in week 2 that at the time didn't really feel like much, but they they dominated UCLA 45-24, a UCLA team that went on to win 10 games. And at the time, like I said, didn't really mean anything, but that was a huge win for them, and it really boosted their resume. They also had a bunch of close losses, and this Nevada team could have been so much better than they actually were in terms of their record and the result of the season. It's one of those things that you look back, it's like, oh, all of the almosts, right? All of the almosts that they just wanted to have back. Obviously, the first one being this Arizona game at the beginning of the season. Losing that game in which you were up in the fourth quarter is a heartbreaking way to start the year. And if you win it, you're talking about 10 wins, right? You're talking about 10 wins, and you're feeling really good. Then you beat Air Force coming out of the bye, first conference win, but then you lose your next 3 games, all 3 of them against users. And this is the tough part, because they were all, because the San Jose State game was close, you had a chance to win it, but you didn't. The Middle Tennessee game, you didn't really show up very well. The Utah State game, you didn't really show up very well. And those are the performances that you're going to look back on and be like, if we just had those back, if we were just able to play a little bit better, we're probably in the Mountain West title game. We're probably talking about potential playoff contention. But you weren't able to win those games. But they did go on a string and just ripped off 6 straight wins and played really good football while doing so. The Boise State game dominated. Hawaii dominated. Fresno State dominated. Oregon State dominated. Wyoming dominated. And then UNLV dominated. Like, this was just they were playing some of the best football to end the season. Now, you look at the records of the teams they were playing, and you can say, oh, well, they weren't great teams. It doesn't matter. You still got to win your football games, as we've seen with other team schedules. Like, if you don't win your football games, sorry, right? You could be playing bad teams, but you still need to win, and they were able to do so. Coach Would You Blow Me is playing, or has his boys playing at a level that I think that the Nevada faithful can be proud about. And the running game, it really found its stride in the second half of the season. And this team I don't want to make generalization sweeps for next season already, but I feel pretty good about their ability to compete in the Mountain West next season. For the Bobcats, this was a tough season. And it really only comes down to that one game in the conference championship, right? You lose to Ohio State in week 1, that's fine. It's not like we really expected you to win that game. You win one of the ugliest games I've ever seen when you play Toledo in week 2. And then you go to Miami and you beat what eventually would be the number 11 team in the country pretty soundly. You were up 35-0 at halftime. Like, this was a dominant performance from the Bobcats, and it really sent a message to the rest of the country, hey, we're ready to compete now. Like, we're not waiting another year. We've got this in the bag. Then they beat App State, and it was like, okay, we know App State is going to be one of the best group of 5 teams in the country this year. They do so in a dominant fashion. Like, you win that game by 17 points, and it's like, okay, we're here. You beat Miami. You beat Kent State. You beat UMass. You beat Buffalo. You beat NIU, and you do so in dominant fashion. It felt like this team was on a collision course with whoever they were going to play in the first round of the college football playoff. And then you do the same thing to finish out the year. You beat Eastern Michigan. You beat ODU. You beat Ball State. That Ball State game was a little bit closer than you probably would have liked, but you are just beating the piss out of teams, and you've played really good teams, and that is the biggest thing. You look at the combined opponent record in the top right, 110-77. This was a team that was battle-tested, that came to play, showed up, and dominated. And then this game happens. Toledo, 70, or you lose 56-28. You just did not show up. That is the most heartbreaking part about this entire season, is that you just did not show up when it mattered the most. You needed to win that game, prove a point that you are the best group of 5 team in the country, winning 2 MAC titles, going to the college football playoff, and you just didn't. You didn't show up. It wasn't even close. Toledo dominated that. So this season, well, it feels amazing to win that many football games and to do so in the fashion that they did. It feels disappointing because you didn't do what everybody thought you were going to do at the beginning of the year, and that was make the college football playoff. It was win the MAC again. So you come back year 3 under Coach Sean Combs. Tim Carpenter's coming back. You got to feel really good about where this team is at and their potential to be in the college football playoff. Old Dominion finishes 7-6, but 6-2 in conference. Listen, it didn't start out very hot for the Monarchs, but once they got to conference play, man, things really turned around, as you can see by that record, right? You lose to Western Kentucky by 3 in week 1. You get dominated by a bad Virginia Tech team that there are rumors that are going to fire their coach at the end of the season. And then you lose by 10 to a really good Toledo team. Like, this was a very, very good game from the Monarchs, and I don't think anything should be taken away from them because they lost this game. You know, good on them for scheduling tough out-of-conference opponents like Toledo, who we knew was going to be good this year, and playing really well in that game. They had the bye week in week 4, came back scorching hot. Beat the piss out of Marshall, beat the piss out of Georgia State. This South Alabama game is where things took a turn, and it was like, okay, I thought the defense had figured something out, but maybe not. You gave up 48 points to South Alabama, and you look at the season in a retrospective, this was the point that tides turned. Or that not tides turned, but you look back at this game specifically, if you just play a little bit better, you were in the Sun Belt Championship game because you took care of business everywhere else. It was just this game that came back and bit you because you dominate Arkansas State, you dominate Texas State, you dominate Southern Miss. You do lose to App State, you do lose to Ohio. Those are tough games. Those are really good teams, right? 13 and 12 wins respectively. There's just not much you can do about that, right? They are really good teams that are going to put up points. They're going to, get stops. You just have to play a really good game in order to beat them. And for the Monarchs, they just weren't able to either of those weeks, but they played really well. I mean, that App State game was tied 28-28 at halftime. They put up 42 points on Ohio. Like, this is not, this is nothing to scoff at. And then they dominate Louisiana in week 13 on a game that had potential, title implications for the Sun Belt. And they win that game pretty handily, win by 20 over a good Louisiana team. Overall, it's tough to quantify or really capture how this Old Dominion season felt because it felt like they were a much better team than the record says at 7-6. But they were 1-4, in user games. You have to be better than that if you want to compete at a higher level. And I think that's what we're going to get to with Old Dominion is the next step for them is how do they win those user games and how do they do so in convincing fashion. But you've got to feel really good, especially with the 67 overall, being able to compete as well as they did. You got to feel really good about where Coach Noah Cavan has this program going into year 3. San Diego State went 12-2 and undefeated in the Mountain West. They were one of the best group of 5 teams. Never got the recognition they deserved, and it's bullshit. It is honestly bullshit that they didn't get it because they were phenomenal. And I think a lot of it has to do with the fact that the Mountain West wasn't as good as we thought it was going to be at the beginning of the season, and so they weren't able to get those key victories in conference because non-conference wise, they actually didn't play super well, and the teams that they did beat weren't very good. So they beat FCS West in week 1, lose to App State in week 2. Tyson Chavez breakout game in this one. I think he had 3 touchdowns and like 200 yards in this game. The defense just didn't play very well. Come back, you win your Mountain West opener against Air Force in a convincing fashion. Then you go to Ole Miss, and you probably should have won this game. And this is the one that is going to haunt you, because if you win this game, there are talks about, hey, is San Diego State the best group of 5 team? Are they going to get the playoff spot? You don't know. Probably not, given the fact that they did lose to App State and that we did have, Toledo and Ohio who had those big wins in their pocket already. But this was one of those what if games if we were able to win it, because they played really well in it and had a chance to. But then they bounced back and beat Utah State and beat Buffalo. So after this Ole Miss game, they don't lose again. In fact, they don't really play. They played some tight games, but there was never a game where it was like, oh, they probably should have lost that game. They absolutely beat Hawaii. Like, there was no question about this. They beat Fresno State. They beat New Mexico, beat Wyoming, beat UNLV, beat Colorado State. That Colorado State game might have been the one where it was like, okay, maybe. But I still think that they were the better team that game. They were the better team that game, and it showed. And then they dominate New Mexico in the Mountain West title game, 56-35. Like, this San Diego State team was so much better than they got credit for. And it made me mad at the end of the season when they didn't show up ranked. It's like, what more do you want them to do? Like, they are beating the teams on their schedule in a fashion that should be revered, right? These games were dominated by San Diego State. And the final scores aren't anything, gaudy like some of the other teams that we've seen. It's because that's not the style of football that they play. They aren't looking to put up, 65, 70 points. They're looking to play good defense, and they're looking to be efficient on offense. I thought they did everything they needed to, and Coach Booth is one of the most underrated coaches in the country at this point, and I don't think that should be called into question. He is phenomenal, and this program deserves more credit. There were 69 overall. Like, yes, you brought Trey White back, but the depth on that team was not there, and they still managed to win 12 games. So just wanted to give some flowers to San Diego State for that performance. For San Jose State, I really don't know what to do with this team. You start the season with a just walloping loss to Jacksonville State in a game you weren't competitive, but then you bounce back with 2 big wins, over user opponents, Louisiana and Fresno State. Obviously, Fresno State, it's a rivalry game. So even though the team sucks, you're still going to take that. Stanford was a tough loss. This was not a good Stanford team. As you can see, they went 4-8, 1-7 in the ACC, and you lost 52-14. But then you win your next 3 games, and you beat a good Nevada team in the process of doing so. So it was like, okay, the San Jose State team is probably still one of the best in the Mountain West, and they should probably be in the title game again. And then you lose 3 straight games, 2 of them conference opponents. And it was like, okay, maybe they're not a good team anymore. You lost to UNLV and Colorado State. The UNLV game you probably should have won. Honestly, you probably should have won both of those games. There was some weird stuff that happened in those that if you play the game 100 times, those things don't happen in succession of each other. They don't happen as a combination. It just felt very odd while watching those games that was the result that it produced. And then you get just destroyed by LSU. I think what we found out about the San Jose State team by the end of the season is that they were able to play with those mid-level, even those better group of 5 teams. But anytime that they played a team that was just more talented roster-wise, they struggled. You talk about the Stanford game, you talk about the LSU game. Those games, they just look overmatched and overwhelmed. But you beat Air Force, giving yourself a chance to play in the conference championship game, but you couldn't beat New Mexico in the last game of the season. It's not like it mattered. New Mexico went 7-1 in conference. Oh well. It was a rough season for San Jose State, and by the end of it, Coach Crowley did look checked out. There are rumors that he's looking to leave, but nobody knows where yet. Nobody knows what's open yet. So, but he has expressed in his inner circle the interest in getting out of San Jose as soon as possible. For Toledo, it was, hey, can we get Ohio back? And they were able to do so. That's literally what it was. You outlast Pitt, you beat Old Dominion, you beat Western Michigan. You're getting a lot of revenge for last season. This was a big one. Beat Kent State, beat NIU, beat Bowling Green, beat Baylor, beat Central Michigan, beat Buffalo, beat Penn State. You scheduled Pitt, a really good Ohio team, Baylor, and Penn State all out of conference. You won all of them. Like, that is phenomenal. That is something that should be celebrated. You went to their place, you won. It was, I mean, a testament to what Toledo was capable of doing. And they were a really good, high-powered offense that was tough to stop. The Miami game, I mean, that was the biggest. You had to win that game, given everything that happened, everything that was on the line. Like, that was a must-win. Somehow, some way, you found a way to do it. Like, this game, when you talk about perseverance, this Miami game is perseverance. Like, it was a game that shouldn't have been close because of where you were at in the fourth quarter, but you didn't play well in the fourth quarter. But you did enough to at least get to overtime, even though you missed a kick to win it. Actually, it was blocked. All of that being said, you win the ball game, you keep your playoff hopes alive, and then you go into the MAC championship game and you dominate Ohio. You dominate Ohio. Like, that is a phenomenal game, and I applaud Toledo for being able to win it and win the conference in year 2, something they weren't able to do last year because of that loss to Western Michigan. And you can see that they played a lot of really good teams on their way to doing this. So, kudos to Coach Cam King for getting this program to an 81 overall, and also to the point where it's like the expectation is we're competing for the college football playoff, and then making good on that expectation as well, and getting to the point of competition. For UMass, man, this team was good. This team was really good, and we saw it early on. Beat Delaware, go to Happy Valley. The Penn State team was top 5, I think, at this point in the season, or top 10, and you beat them on the road 25-24. You beat Temple, you beat Buffalo, you beat Central, you beat Akron. The boogeyman got you. The boogeyman definitely got you in Ohio. This was a tough game. You did the best you could to stay in it for as long as you could. Unfortunately, just weren't able to. And then the Ball State loss. If you didn't lose to Ball State, we're talking about another trip to the MAC championship game potentially. Obviously, we don't know what would happen. Both UMass and Toledo losing to Ohio. Don't know what the tiebreaker would have been at that point. But you can't lose that Ball State game, especially because they were up 2 in the fourth quarter, and that was, I think, 24-9 at one point they were up, and they lose 36-31. Like, you just can't have that happen. Bounce back with 2 big wins in conference, but then Coach Koss mysteriously disappears. And we'll have more on that. Honestly, we'll have more on that right now, because Coach Koss is under investigation for murder. Yep, you heard that right. He's under investigation for killing somebody. He is nowhere to be found right now. That's the weird part. He left shortly after that Western Michigan game and was not seen again by his team, by his athletic director, by his family. So these last 2 weeks against Bowling Green and UConn, UMass played without their head coach. And rumors are right now that the NCAA has already instituted at least a 1-year show cause for him that may or may not be lifted given, what happens with the investigation. But because of history, lineage, if you know what I'm talking about, they wanted to get out in front of it and make their point and position steadfast before we even got to that point. So we'll see if it comes to fruition, but the NCAA, it has been rumored, is at least putting a 1-year ban on Coach Koss for the 2027 season. So kind of, I don't know how to feel if you're a UMass fan. I mean, the best stretch of football in your entire history, to be honest with you. Like, this is not something that you should take lightly as a fan. You've won double-digit games 2 seasons. I don't know if you've ever done that before, but now that coach that got you there is being accused of killing somebody. So, a mix of emotions for the Minutemen faithful. Not sure really how to talk about that in terms of a season retrospective. Utah State, the team that finally made a bowl game and played really well in the Mountain West. Losing week 1 to Louisiana and week 2 to Stanford was a tough way to start the season. But when you take out these 2 losses, hey, you went 6-5 to finish the year. That's 500 football. We'll take that, absolutely. Beat Bowling Green in a big win. You lose to New Mexico, who ended up playing in the conference title game, which is reasonable, right? You lose to San Diego State, who ended up winning the conference title game. These are 2 reasonable losses. You beat Wyoming. You beat Nevada. You almost beat Utah. You beat UNLV. You beat Hawaii. You do lose to Colorado State. A lot of teams lost to Colorado State. Boise State, you beat them. You kind of own Boise State now if you're Utah State. I mean, this team played really, really well. And when you look back at it, they were a handful of possessions away from, being an 8-win team, being maybe a 9-win team. Like, this team was much better than their final record said. They just have to figure out how to put everything together. I'm going to be honest with you. There was some talk about Coach Taylor being fired after year 1, but I think he's the right man for the job. I with the way that this team played in year number 2, the strides that they made on the offensive and defensive sides of the ball, I really think that this guy is the one to lead them to the promised land. Now, the promised land for them may be the Potato Bowl, but that is the promised land nonetheless, and he will lead them there. I think you got to feel really good about the way that this season went if you're a Utah State fan, if you're Team Eric Taylor, because they went 6-7. They went to a bowl game, right? Like that is big stuff, and you got to feel good. You just have to feel good about it. For Western Kentucky, our final team to talk about here today, beat Old Dominion week 1, beat Fresno State week 2, lose to Pitt week 3, lose to Tulane week 4, lose to Jacksonville State week 5. So all of a sudden you're 2-3 and you don't have a marquee win on your schedule. It's looking like another season of what ifs for Western Kentucky. And you're thinking, okay, can they compete in Conference USA? They have the 1 loss already, but you can get in with 1 loss. That is not a problem. You may even be able to get in with 2 losses, but you're going to need to win a lot of games to do so. And then they rip off 4 straight conference wins. Liberty, that's a win. Louisiana Tech, that's a win. Beat Missouri State. Beat the piss out of Kennesaw State, 42-0. You go into the bye week, you're feeling really good. You're on a 4-game win streak. You're 4-1 in conference. You're in position to make the conference title game, and then you lose to your biggest rival. And you lose in a big way too. You lose by 31 points. I know that the Hilltopper fans are tired of losing to Middle Tennessee State. But you have to hear me out. Because Coach Downfield is the right man for the job. He cares about Western Kentucky more than you could ever dream of. This guy wants to bring a winner to Bowling Green, Kentucky. I promise you that. He really does. And you saw it in the UTEP game. The team came out and persevered. They beat the piss out of UTEP. And that's a UTEP team that gives a lot of teams fits. And it did not matter because UTEP was no match for Western Kentucky on that day. He was not on the sidelines for week 13 in that loss to New Mexico State. It is said that he had some familial problems that he had to attend to, could not coach the game. So we want to, we want to extend our condolences to whatever happened to Coach Chuck Downfield's family and why he needed to step away from that game. But phenomenal season. Way to finish it out. You went 5-3 in conference. You went 5-2 when Coach was on the sideline. Listen, you got to feel good about your ability to compete in this conference. You just got to get over the hump. That's really what it comes down to. But again, this is a good team. This is a good program on its way up. You just can't focus too much on the losses this season. The wins were awesome, and you're going in the right direction. And with that, conference championships are over. We go into bowl season. I will let you know right now that one team, yes, only one, made the college football playoff, and that would be Toledo. Middle Tennessee State, Appalachian State were both left out with 12-1 records. Arizona State needed to lose the Big 12 title game to West Virginia in order for either of those teams to have a shot, and they didn't. They won pretty handily. So, unfortunately for both of those teams, they're on the outside looking in, and it is Toledo taking on Duke, as you will see in the next episode. in round one of the college football playoffs. Everybody else will have their bowl games included in the next episode. We will go through Toledo's playoff run if it should extend past round one game against Duke. And then we will also do the coaching carousel, because that is the best way to kick off season number 3, is talk about where guys will be. We open up the floodgates. Players were allowed to move schools if they chose to. They didn't have to. But I'll just say this. There are a couple moves that are quite crazy that you're going to want to stick around for. So next episode, we have coaching carousel. We have Toledo playoffs. We have every other bowl game that you could imagine under the sun, what have you, and it is going to be a fun time. So you want to make sure to hit that subscribe button. Make sure your notifications are on. Hit the like button while you're down there. It greatly helps out the channel. Pushes these videos out to other people, and that's how we grow the channel, to have other people see the glory that is the league, and its ever-changing now persona that it's got. So that is all I have for you guys today. Thank you all so much for watching. Hope you enjoyed. Catch you on the flip. See ya.